Okay, a few weeks ago I was doing some training for some brokers about using social media in their businesses and as a way to engage other agents. And I also frequently have conversations with association staff and leadership about how they can use some of these online tools and technologies for getting better responses from their members and engaging them and just making sure that they're seen and that they're not losing touch with their constituents. So normally I just reference quickly for them to go look, or for folks to go look at the MRIS tools and what they're doing. MRIS is our multiple listing service. I believe it's one of the biggest, if not the largest, MLS in the country, and I'm a member of more than one. And frankly, by comparison, MRIS is absolutely outstanding. They do a really good job. Not everything's perfect, like no one does, but I've seen them quickly come and fix anything that is fixable. So I'm very impressed with this company. Anyone who's talked by length of time knows that I'm happy to help them whenever I can. So I want to talk a little bit about what they did in their social media and technology strategy when it came to engaging us as users, as multiple listing users. And they have a slogan here: MRS, real estate in real time, and that seems to be kind of their theme for engaging agents and members of their MLS. So I think they make a great example of what to do. Now, for a lot of what they do, the landing page, or where most of the stuff points to, is the blog. It's mrsblog.com. You can go over and take a look. This is a little bit older template. They've now updated it and looks really sharp. I think Ann Haig has a lot to do with that. She's done a great job with the reinvention of that site. But you can see here that they're doing more than just advertising their classes, their services, because they're already members there. And if you look at a lot of realtor associations or even brokers, it's trying to sell them something. It's trying to upsell something. It's trying to put out, one more thing to come take our class, or and this is how much it costs, or here, come do this family event and this is how much it costs, and on and on and on it goes. But they're not really doing a lot to engage me as a reader, as a user, to come in and say, hey, there's something here, there's something worth reading, there's something worth subscribing, and they're not just trying to do a sales pitch or hoorah how great they are. So you can see here just in their blog, it's buying a home today, it's a no-brainer money magazine. Some things that we could use, the information we could use to help when we speak to consumers. Tis the season for stable home prices, some good news about home prices. And then here's how to get a desktop shortcut. Here's a usable feature for by Cassie about what we can do to actually use the system better, which is very important. How we can engage their tools better. So if you're a broker, it's what sources out there are you frustrated your agents aren't using. Do a post on how they can use those things better. It's really good stuff. And here's one of the things they did. They did a little contest to build some relationships, to build some connections on their sites and their tools. So in August of 2010, they did a post socializing for an iPad. So their trick here was to get you involved in their social media campaign by giving away an iPad to someone who contributed, someone at random that had been there and contributed these. Now, I have seen brokers, I have seen associations do this, and typically they do one big launch, they do the contest, and then there's zippy when it comes to the follow-through. There's nothing really there for me to come back to. There's not real good content after the contest. What MRS did differently in this case was they continued to build good content throughout the entire time that this contest was going on, so that we were hooked. I was hooked and following them. And it was about the time in my life when I realized I had way too much going on social media and didn't want any more. But I made time for them and to subscribe to their fan page, but through RSS and in their blog. I noticed here they do their contest on August 2nd. August 2nd, they also had about 110 comments, which is huge for a blog, especially a vendor type blog. And then over here we also had 3,698 people who liked it. That's a good start. That was huge for a startup. And again, the 110 comments. So they got people there. They also humanized the message. They had real people on Twitter. It wasn't just MRIS and 15 people who were managing that Twitter account. These are real staff folks. These are people who handle education and handle the blog and handle engagement for you and I as users. And we do see this sometimes with, franchise, real estate franchises or realtor associations, brokers. When they do their online marketing, it's the company. So you have the logo of the company, and you don't really know who's behind it. There's no personal connection. Um, this was much better. This was real human people that you can engage, and I'll show you in a minute why that's beneficial. They have the Facebook fan page, which will help to push stuff back to the blog, back to, you can see here, back to the web pages. Have you guys seen the job aids for matrix candidates? Seen the things that we're going to give you to help do your job better. But there are some issues or some challenges that people have when they go out there, and some of the realtor associations and brokers and franchises and companies are hesitant to do this because they're afraid of what people are going to say or how it's going to come across. When you get a lot of people, you're going to have some people who are going to use that tool to find out information, to challenge the company, challenge the broker. And it's not always bad to be challenged. In this case, MRIS has Paula Atkins here, says, when are you going to do more classes at NVAR in Fairfax? So she wasn't saying you weren't doing enough, or she wasn't chastising them. She just wants to know if they're going to do more. She wants their classes or training. You see that at December 10th at 3:27. Within a couple hours, Cassie comes back, says there will be more in January with the holidays here. We won't be able to offer more than that now until the new year. Paula comes back 3 minutes, or I'm sorry, about an hour, less than an hour later. Clearly watching for that response, saying thanks, and then Kathy goes a step further. Says, by the way, here's the next class, and the schedule's up, and here's where you can get it. So there's really good follow up and follow through here, and engagement back and forth. And if you'll notice there that Cassie Clancy actually came back several days later. I don't remember how many days, but remember that person, that member, wanted that information. Once in a while, you're going to have folks who are a little bit more direct. MRIS goes out and asks for feedback, and sure enough, they get it. One of the agents said, are you really listening to what we're saying, or do an undisclosed number of people have to request additions or changes for them to listen? Sorry to say that I don't feel you're listening. I'm extremely disappointed with you guys right now. Very shortly thereafter, Maria still comes back, says, yes, we do listen. Senior leadership team at MRIS reviews all customer feedback on a monthly basis. 40,000 customers, as you can imagine, we receive a wide variety of suggestions. Oftentimes customers have different opinions because, and she goes on to explain why. And here's where I think a lot of the social tools really happen. I'm a fan, and I was following this conversation. I also happen to have connected with the person who made this comment previously, and I said, I think you're being a little rough on staff. You don't strike me as one of those people. This stuff takes time. She comes back. There's somewhat of an apology. She didn't feel like her specific request was being addressed, but she did feel staff would have reached out to her. So what you don't see in here is that someone in the background had reached out to her to talk to her and see what was going on with those issues. And then someone else from staff, Carrie, came back and said, I want to let you know we're actively working developing mobile apps. You don't see that in the stream. You see that she's made this comment before. They come back and give her very specific information. Great way to handle that, to diffuse the problem. These conversations are happening in the parking lots anyways. What's happening here on the Facebook page is that again, whether you're association or broker or not, the conversation was brought back to the platform that we're all used to. Most of us are used to Facebook. And now this person has a way to vent on a mechanism and ground in which they feel comfortable. And then everyone gets to see a response back from the company. Matthew Ryan here says, what happened to the export feature? I use the export feature a lot to build custom materials for my clients. I don't think he's being rude or anything. He's just saying, hey, I can't find this. Can you help me find it? I hope it's not gone. And then he comes back and says, oh, you know what? I found it. It just was in a different place. MRIS comes back and says, yeah, we changed it. Here's where it is, to make sure that everybody knew where it was, not just him. And then they ask for feedback. They give tons of ways that you can reach back to them and contact them and ask them for things. Again, someone else who had different concerns about changes that were made in the system. MRIS, Ann comes back and says, just want to make sure that Tim addressed, in other words, letting the public know that this gentleman hadn't gone unanswered, that they had actually gone back and addressed his problems, and she wanted to make sure she went back to the public forum, because it wasn't just that person who's listening, it was everyone who read the comment. You don't want to leave things hanging out there, dangling out here. Another person complaining about systems, again, they come right back. We've had mixed reviews, we'll be honest with you. You know, apparently there was other people who had problems with the same thing. Now we recognize it. You're not by yourself. We're going to work on it, and gave them some information. So here was the rewards for them. They humanized the message. They put the conversation on the turf. Let me go back to humanize the message. It is much more difficult for people to rant against another person. It's easier for them to rant against an institution that they don't see the people who work there and are dedicated to fixing that problem. So MRIS said, you know, we have real people, real staff who are really engaging you, who are getting out there. About this time, by the way, staff was also doing trips around to the associations to meet up with people. So great job of putting real humans in contact with real humans. Put the conversation on their turf, or my turf for that matter. I like social media. I like Facebook and Twitter and the blog, and they put it where I'm at, where we as users often are. They were transparent. You can see comment streams in there where even staff going, you know, we've had a lot of complaints, and just what you're complaining about, we're working on it. They resolved conflicts. They were intentional, dedicated, and positive. And then they created an environment. They created an environment where we now are comfortable that if we go on Facebook or the blog and leave a comment about a problem, someone's going to listen, someone's going to respond. Again, these are great tools, great lesson, and great example of what realtor associations and brokers and franchisees should all be looking to accomplish. MRIS did a great deal of work in putting this all together. They have continued to maintain it from that time till current. At the time of this recording, I'm in June of 2011. So at least from last December to June, they have been steadfast in humanizing the conversation, creating transparency, resolving and creating an environment where we feel there's value there. So really good job for them. Lessons to be learned here. Go take a look at their stuff. And if you have any questions, as always, I'm Matthew Rathman at theagenttrainer.com. Happy to help you with your training needs, or anytime you want to give me a call, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Thanks so much, and have a great day.